The Federal Reserve's decision to adopt a higher-for-longer approach is expected to make any short-term interest rate decreases less likely, as seen by another high-inflation report. For March, the Core Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, which does not include volatile energy and food prices, clocked in at 2.8% year-over-year. This is the Fed's preferred inflation metric. Although it was 0.1% more than anticipated, it was the same level as February. The 0.3% month-over-month increase in the inflation metric was expected. The Fed won't feel comfortable making cuts until there has been a longer run of strong inflation statistics, according to Preston Caldwell, senior U.S. economist at Morningstar. After reversing their earlier forecasts of a rate drop in March or June, the markets are now pricing in just a 45% likelihood of the first rate decrease occurring in September. Investors were still expecting a rate decrease in July before to last week, but now there is a 66% chance that the central bank would keep rates unchanged that month. Unless we witness a significant decline in the data on economic activity and a return of inflation to 2% in the upcoming months, cutting rates in July now seems like a step too far, according to Caldwell. Fed Chair Jerome Powell issued a warning regarding today's PCE reading on April 16, stating that he did not anticipate any improvement and that the 3- and 6-month inflation measures are now higher, reducing expectations for rate decreases anytime soon. The Fed chair also stated that it will take longer than anticipated to gain the trust required to bring inflation down to the central bank's 2% target. Powell stated on April 16 that it is fair to give restrictive policies more time to function and to let the data and the evolving outlook lead us, given the strength of the labor market and the progress made thus far on inflation. His remarks contradicted earlier claims that despite some hotter-than-expected readings in the first 2 months of the year, the general prognosis had not changed significantly. He attributed seasonality and housing-related prices for the rise that began in 2024. Tilley emphasized that the central bank's 2.6% end-of-year inflation estimate is still within reach, despite the current inflation rate of 2.8%. Powell repeatedly stated last year that you must begin reducing before reaching the 2% mark, according to Tilley. Core PCE inflation on a 6-month annualized basis is currently at 3%, but the 3-month measure has increased to 4.4%. As for the January inflation reading, Tilley added, "I think it's getting a huge boost from that really high and looks seasonal." However, there is enough evidence of a reacceleration for the Fed to become somewhat concerned. The senior economist at Stifel Financial, Lindsay Pigza, stated on Yahoo Finance Live that the current state of affairs is far from ideal for the Fed. According to her, this will make their perspective more difficult and might put off any discussion of near-term reduction. Pigza believes that if inflation surprises to the upside in the future, the topic of rate hikes will come up again. We are going to go over a few important points that you should be aware of as the U.S. economy is about to take a hard landing. Major news networks are currently pushing the narrative that the economy is doing well, which is understandable given their support for Joe Biden. Whether they present alarming statistics about unemployment, credit card debt, inflation, or immigration, they always manage to turn bad news into something positive by saying things like, "It's okay that it will cost you 30% more to shop at the grocery store. You're fine. You're happy." The U.S. economy is not looking good, as evidenced by the data. Ellen Zentner, the chief U.S. economist at Morgan Stanley, told CNBC that a hard-landing recession is likely in the coming months due to a number of factors. "I strongly believe that the question of whether the next move needs to be up is not being seriously debated on the Fed right now, so we can put that worry aside. However, it is still about how long they hold onto their concerns, as Jamie mentioned. I think that rings true in that whatever kind of landing you might be thinking about, timing is everything, which is why we've had a soft landing call since March 2022. This is probably how the Fed sees it in the current data-coincident data on the economy or the forward-looking data that says we should be on recession watch right now. However, the point that diamond makes is that there are these cumulative impacts that build over time, and we are in the camp that we haven't yet seen all of the tightening impacts from monetary policy flow through. I rolled that forward into 2023, and guess what? I rolled that forward into 2024. There will come a day when we have to land hard. I guarantee you that we're all wondering when does that happen. Hence, you should be anxious about it, right? Since economists are supposed to be concerned about potential dangers, I won't be keeping an eye out for a recession just yet, but I am aware of the enormous uncertainties surrounding tougher lending standards, historical tightening of monetary policy, quantitative tightening, and geopolitical events. They're stacking here, so it appears that the Fed won't be lowering rates significantly anytime soon. We might see one rate cut, but it might not happen until December. So many Americans are holding out hope for lower rates in order to take advantage of opportunities like investing in real estate or upgrading their cars. This past weekend, the Wall Street Journal published an article detailing how Americans are becoming so impatient with waiting for interest rates to drop that they are, listing their homes for sale because they can no longer bear the weight. The prices of everything from housing to groceries are through the roof. And even though recent reports have indicated that inflation is starting to moderate, that cooling may have been an anomaly because we have now seen an increase in inflationary pressure for 37 straight months. In fact, the most recent CPI numbers confirm that it is indeed much hotter than anticipated. The White House will attempt to manipulate these inflationary figures to make them appear more favorable, but we know that things are dire for Americans right now, and as long as inflation stays higher than the Federal Reserve's target, interest rates will remain where they are. Even if we do see a slight drop in rates by Christmas, it won't be substantial. The days of interest rates below 5% are sadly over. Here's another gut punch. Dozens of large American corporations are planning to continue their 2024 layoff streak. Just check out this list provided by Business Insider. The complete list of significant U.S. corporations laying off employees this year, which includes IBM, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Citi, eBay. Almost all industries, including BlackRock, should brace themselves for the impending wave of significant layoffs. Over the Christmas season, Challenger Gray, an outplacement firm, said that 84,000 planned cuts in February alone, according to the company's labor and workplace specialists. As we enter the first and second quarters of 2024, we're seeing a steady tide of layoffs, and to make matters worse, Americans are deeply in debt from credit card debt. The total credit card debt owed by Americans rose to an unprecedented $1 trillion. Sadly, a large number of your people are currently ensnared in a same vicious cycle. High interest rates are trapping them in a never-ending cycle of financial hardship. Some credit card rates, for example, are over 23%. Imagine trying to work your way out of that. Meanwhile, illegal immigrants are flooding the nation with new arrivals. Estimates put the number of illegal immigrants entering the country at over 10 million, and they're not doing anything to stop it. If the current rate of immigration doesn't decline, 2024 could end up being the worst year ever for illegal immigration. On his first day in office, President Biden issued numerous executive orders repealing rules from the Trump administration that were obstructing the border, giving Customs and Border Protection more authority to go out and round up illegal immigrants and send them back to their home countries. Biden undid all of that on day one, which is why so many of these cities are struggling greatly and are overwhelmed by this crisis. Take a look at Denver, Colorado, or Chicago, for example, where they are forced to house illegal immigrants in makeshift tent cities and are using American resources like the municipal services and local healthcare infrastructure to support the illegal population. If you're buying the narrative put out by major news networks that Biden economics is somehow effective, think again. Economic analyst and financial writer David Morgan has issued a warning about an impending global depression. He said, "We're entering into a global depression, the likes of which the world has never seen, and I believe that China is a major factor in this. The Chinese people who were forced into this enormous real estate bubble are withdrawing their money from these investments and putting it into gold and silver investments in China, where the real estate bubble has burst and they are facing enormous challenges. And how much of that will affect the U.S.? There is a dilemma of affordable housing and ongoing inflation in the country. It is time to prepare for a rough landing." This is not going to be easy, because there has never been a worse moment to be saddled with credit card debt, especially because these businesses are demanding exorbitant interest rates. Record rates of illegal immigration, major job layoffs that are imminent, to name a few. Understanding how inflation data impacts the Federal Reserve's policies and strategies is crucial for making informed investment decisions. In this video on Investing Tutorial, we've broken down the implications of the latest inflation reading on the Fed's long-term stance. By staying informed about these economic trends, you'll be better equipped to navigate the financial markets and optimize your investment strategies. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more valuable insights into the world of investing.